What's up guys, Abshu here. So today in this video I'm gonna show you guys if you're a beginner how to get around producing some future based music. uh, and in this particular one it's kind of special because I've used the guzheng. Basically you can't really go wrong with Asian instruments in the mix. So a guzheng is basically a zither. It's like father to the koto. It's like thousands of years old. So I just decided, because it has such a unique sound, why not just incorporate it with some good future bass, right? So I started this project actually last year in June, and I ended up releasing this project many months later, like 7 months later. So a few technicalities in this project are like a little old, but we'll get around it. Um, it's called Echoes of Tomorrow, and it's a future-based track. So I'll take you guys over it really quickly. So thing is, most of my music, most of my songs, my singles are in the key of F minor, or something that's B major, C minor. So over here this time for this project I went with the E natural minor scale. So it just came to me naturally. Any typical electronic music song, we follow a 4x4 pattern and basically four chords, and those four chords are gonna be the core of your song, right? These four chords are important because it's gonna repeat through the entire track. So these four felt natural to me. So what we have here is a D major, which is the 7th scale degree. Then we have an E minor, we have a A minor added 9th, and a B minor to end with. So it gives you a kind of a unique sound. Let's listen to that on the piano. I've got a nice laps preset over here. So if you pay attention, uh, in the case of the A minor chord over here, the third chord, I could have made it a 7th chord, right? I could have made it a suspended, but specifically, why did I go with an add 9? This is where a little bit of theory actually starts to creep up, because in the chord prior to it, right, the E minor chord, we have a B ending over here. So if I just felt that we continue that tone, it gives a unique effect, because just without this B note right over here, so this jump from E minor to A minor, it's not really smooth, right? It's like a huge jump that's happening, and that doesn't fit well. But the moment you add in the B, you add in the note, right, it has its own unique characteristic to it. Add 9 chords are just wonderful. So with the chord sound, I had to improvise on a melody. Based on what chords, the chords determined the vibe for me actually. So I went ahead. We are using this beautiful plugin called NU Guzheng, I think. Yeah, so it's a Guzheng plugin, and the plugin basically has all these controls, so you can really manipulate your sound, right? So it has a beautiful Guzheng sound. So that's how a guzheng sounds, and sticking to the scale, as I said, the chords set the vibe for me, right? So this is kind of what I came up with. Just instantly set the mood for me. I immediately knew that I didn't even know that I was gonna make future bass actually. This is the beauty of music production, you don't know where you're actually going to end up. and up. So I went ahead, layered the melody with a synth. Yeah. So there's two sounds, there's two synth ones being layered over here. So what I've done is that I've drenched it in reverb, right? I've used Valhalla Room and drenched it in reverb, and I have a little stereo panning going on, so I've panned it a little bit to the right. I'll get to why I've actually done this. If we go over to the other sound, so even with this sound, what I've done is basically the same, drenched it in reverb, and this time it's routed on the left. So what I now have is a really wide and clearly positioned lead sounds. So now there's like, it's gonna feel like there's a direction in the mix. So if we put the two leads together, it's gonna sound like this. If you really pay attention to the right side sound and then the left side, you can distinguish the two sounds if you really pay attention to it. But overall, it's giving such a wide framework for you. Let's get to the chords. So looking at these automations I've done for the chords towards the drop, right? Looks a little scary, but okay, let's get into the sound itself. So let's see what I've done here. So there's two layers over here. So one is pitched up, one is pitched down, two different octaves. So yeah, again, even with the chords, I've panned things. So one of the sounds is on the left, and one of them, the other one, is right but a little bit behind. So it's uniquely placed. So if the similar way that I did with the leads. So if we combine the lead sound and the chord stack together, so you see, this is a cool way to have your chords really fill out the space, right? It fills out the space, and at the same time your leads are standing out as well. Many times in future bass, what you find happening is that the chords and the leads are really interfering with each other, and you'll spend a lot of hours just figuring out how you can get everything to actually fit in and stand out. It's tricky, but with panning things, that alone, doing it right, really understanding what direction your song is going in, will really help make the mix sound good and your song actually sound more natural. So let's talk more on the processing, how I'm actually getting the filter sound on the chord. So I'm using this plugin from Kilohertz Filter, and basically I've automated the cutoff the way I like it, so you get that opening sound, and it gives you a sort of a rhythm overall. So if we just play, Yeah, and I think it's a really cool plugin. It's basic, it's simple, it works very well. It's I just love kilohertz, man. And then of course you have to get to the bass. uh, I'm just gonna turn on the automation just in case I don't wanna mess up the sound. Okay, so the bass is following the root notes, the last note or the tonic of each of the chords that I talked about earlier. The basses are heavily processed. I mean, considering I'm a dubstep guy, I don't think it's that heavy process, but we do have a decapitator with a default preset beefy. Um, some EQ, I'm cutting out the sub, I have a sub bass separately, right? I don't want the frequencies of the gritty bass to interfere with the sub bass. I want the sub to sound clean. Uh, and cutting out the sub frequencies from your chords, leads, bit, and the grid basses can help clear up the mix. So even the bass has been panned and positioned accordingly. So we have the chords and the leads on the sides and a little bit on the right side behind. Um, the bass specifically, I've set it on the back and a little spread out with some width, right? So without that, there's a difference. So without this plugin, without the stereo imaging, it would sound muddy, but doing stereo imaging is like really important. And you guys might have noticed there's a pattern over here. You take any EDM track out there, any genre, really any genre, we are kind of following this pattern in our arrangement. So we start off with the intro, we have a little bit of a build up, we have a turnaround or fill, and then we have a big drop, then leading it into a quieter section relatively, and we have another verse going on, and then we have like a down phase, and then another build, another turnaround, and another drop, and we go out to the outro. Typical electronic music stuff. So similarly, this is the basic arrangement of the song overall over here. Future bass as a genre, you will have these synths. Okay, you will have your detuned chords, you will have your powerful leads, you will have your sub bass powerful, and you will have your grid bass. Grid bass is basically, uh, it's fair to say you add unisons, a little bit of unisons onto any waveform, square, triangle, and you distort the hell out of it, and you kind of get a gritty texture of that. A bit of bit crushing will help. If any Logic Pro users out there, it's bit crushing, you have a default plugin for that. Right, now let's move on to the sub bass. This one again is from 7th one, and on the sub bass I have the plugin wider and it's set to mono because it's just safe to put your sub bass in mono. That way it's there kind of in your face. Look at this. Kind of makes sense. You can hear the difference over here. And then of course I have an EQ. Basically I don't want these frequencies in my sub bass. It's a sub bass, it has to be in the sub range. It has to be over here strictly. And I have a decapitator giving some thickness to it. Sounds good. Now what would have happened if I didn't have the stereo panning on the grid bass. This is how it would sound. Now let's hear it with it on. It blends. It blends, right? You notice how the grid bass without the stereo pan is just killing the sub bass. It's completely killing the sub bass. Like, you cannot hear the sub as well. Now if we stack up the elements together, now here's what it would actually sound like with no sort of panning at all. I've just turned back everything on. Let's hear how it sounds actually with everything properly panned. Immediately noticing how everything's more clearer, the message is clear of the song, and everything's standing out. Everything has its own dedicated space. Let's move on to the drums. So for drums, I've again relied on ultrasonic sounds. Get a sample pack, it's worth it. So that's a powerful thumpy kick up there. Um, Even the kick is in mono because it hits hard that way, right? And I have some basic EQing going on. And I've just done that because it will interfere with the sub. And what we have here is another kick, but it's got a more orchestral tone to it. We'll get into the rhythm of it soon. It will make sense. That's a good snare. Drenched in reverb, and I have my kick panned on purpose. See, you can have your signal in mono, but you can still keep it left or right, and that's exactly what I've done. It's a little on the left side because if you listen to, or there's anytime, if you listen to one of their famous songs, you'll notice that they have a little bit unconventional way of mixing. The kick is not centered, it's kind of on the side, and that's what I kind of went for, and it kind of sounds unique, you know. So our beat, the base of the beat, which is the kick and the snare, the groove is pretty trappy. Now let's add in the second kick. Let's add in the snare, the other snare. I have two snares over here and two kicks. So this way we have like a trappy vibe, but it's also giving a little bit of traditional, like a little more tribal sound to it because of the secondary kick and snare over here. The rhythm, I've designed it in such a way using dotted notes, triplets. You use all these systems and you can get something unique out of this. Yeah, and then what you do is add in some nasty down filters like this for ear candy. You do a lot of automations. Another ear candy. So after the drop, what we have is so in this section, I improvised on the melody before, and I had to give it a serious tone, a tone of contemplation. So I had to go with a slower rhythm over here, and the gouging is doing its work, really. It's all about the sound that you pick. So if we pay closer attention, some of the notes are slightly delayed for because it sounds good. If you're stacking notes on a goujang, it just sounds majestic. We also have this Reese bass that I got on Strum 2. This preset is from Ultrasonic Slap House sound pack. Another very good sound pack, in my opinion. And then what we have is another pair of melody. This is more like a riff on goujang. If you look up on YouTube, you'll find a lot of classical Chinese pieces, and they have these crazy riffs going on. Yeah, a lot of other Asian instruments. It's like a ensemble of their own. So I had to make something similar to it. On its own, it sounds awkward, but in a good setting, it would sound phenomenal. And with some more effects, percussion loops, orchestral drums, and working on the ear candy is secondary, but nail these parts down, introduce your song in a good way. I have introduced this with the Dune preset, really setting the ambience. I've used pads. The sound is processed. I've used Supermassive on it and Fruity Reverb too. FL stock reverb, and sounds phenomenal. So here you go, take a listen.